Play everything.
What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm glad you can join me for another episode of The Truth About. Now, the least you can do to support the channel is just hit the subscribe button, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and even leave a comment if you want to join in the discussion down below. Most times I like to go freestyle when talking about games and movies and so forth, but in this particular instant, I had to write down some notes and just write down my thoughts because God of War is something. This story is about a father trying to raise and protect his son from amongst all the dangers and what he fears he will become. It is also a tale of conflict, revenge, and redemption and change. Amongst all of this, the question is how far one will go to make wrong right, while weighing in the balance of the necessary violence that needs to be exacted if necessary. And can you change something that is destined to be your fate? Things that I loved about this story was definitely the character development. I thought the character development was top notch. I love the way they developed Kratos. He's been developing from day one, but to see the development of his emotion as if he was getting tapped into his emotional side, and we really see a hardcore Kratos throughout the whole series. And now you're starting to see a more emotional Kratos that is getting more in touch with, certain, I want to say his sensitive side. Well, we go ahead and say Kratos has a sensitive side, and that's okay because life is about balance, right? But he's still a man's man. And I love the way they developed Atreus as he's going from one stage of life into the next. He's finding love. He's coming into who he is destined to be. And he has also conflict with what is going on as well in the story, and that is portrayed very well. Also, Freya and her rage and her want for bloodshed and vengeance against Kratos and eventually someone else later on down the line in the names of Odin. And everybody else's characters in here was thoroughly developed, and you felt connected to each and every character. Everyone was excellent, especially the armorers that were catering to Kratos' armory and armor and weapons and artifacts and runes and so forth. Very well done. Anger Koda, who Atreus met, a little love fling going on here. You felt a little love and what was going on with her grandmother. Awesome stuff, man. It was phenomenal storytelling. Top notch. 10 out of 10 for storytelling. This was definitely the best story of the year and one of the best stories of all time told in video game history. The sound design. The sound design was good. It delivered the necessary goods for what it was doing, hacking and slashing, ripping and tearing, and yelling and screaming. It did that very well. Now, is it a step above the prior game? No, it feels the same to me. It sounds the same. I've played it in the surround sound on the home stereo system. I also played it in the 3D Sony headset. Both options were phenomenal, but if I was to choose one, I would go with the 3D audio headset with the Sony peripheral as well. But sound, I give sound about an 8. I think it could have been better, but it did the job and you really felt what was going on. But there was also room for improvement in the sound quality of the game. The one that everybody is held up on is graphics. Graphics are important. Graphics is what we see first. Everybody loves a good looking something, right? That's what catches your eye. And then you get to the quality of the surface. I talked about the quality first because we're trying to reverse society and let's deal with the quality of things. So the quality of the story was top notch. Let's deal with the outward appearance of the game. Now we know that this game is a cross generation game. So it's not a PlayStation 5 exclusive. So there's going to be some drawbacks to that because they have to cater to the PS4. Okay, so graphics are pretty similar to the last iteration of the game. Nothing real. There's no real wow factor to the game. You've seen this before, and like the sound, you heard this before. The question is that a bad thing? And it is not a bad thing, because God of War is not a bad looking game to begin with. This game adds a little bit more polish, better lighting, barely, but at the end of the day, it is still a carbon copy of what we've seen already. And that is a letdown, because we have the PlayStation 5, we have all of this power here, and it should be utilized, especially for a top-notch first-party game like God of War, a franchise system seller. And I think they should have took a little bit more time to differentiate the PS5 graphically from the PS4 and the PS4 Pro. So graphically, I'm going to have to give this about an 8. And I don't even usually like to grade like that. I usually wait till the end, but we're going to do that. I give it about an 8, only because it is on the same level as before. Moving on to gameplay. Gameplay, like the graphics, is exactly what you've seen already and played already. There's really no change. There's really no advancement in the gameplay arena. And that was also a disappointment with this game. They say that when something is broke, you don't need to fix it. I agree. But I think they could have added some bells and whistles to it just to improve it. There's nothing wrong with a little improvement. I think it had room to improve to make the whole gameplay experience a little smoother in transition and combat and so forth. They did add a spare new weapon, a new flagship weapon for Kratos, which is phenomenal. Tell me what you guys think in the comments about the spare. I absolutely love the spare. The spare is a godsend, and it is effective. And I really enjoyed it. So you can check out the videos that I post after this review when I'm using the spare. I think you guys are going to like it. Another drawback about the gameplay and combat is the ability not to be able to cancel, that I know of. Once you start doing a rune move, you're locked in that animation till the end. And while you're doing this, the enemy could have dodged to the left, dodged to the right, and Kratos is still there swinging at the air. And that is not the sign of a Spartan warrior. So we should have the ability to at least cancel that attack, drain that bar once you cancel, and then you can go into your next rune after you relocate the target. I think that would have been a nice addition to the game. If it is there, you can let me know. If there's a workaround that, let me know. I've heard that you can switch weapons midway, but I don't think that works. It may work. Let me know. Also dealing with the gameplay here is the breaking up of a flow. When you're in this game and you're in the flow and you're ripping and tearing and screaming and you're done, now you have a puzzle. So sometimes during the game, it's as if that you're fighting, then abruptly stop. You got a puzzle that you're stuck on for a little bit, and then you move on. Puzzle, move on. Puzzle, move on. I think that there was too much puzzles in this game. I would have much rather a straight through action bloody revenge with less puzzles, so it didn't break the pace of the game. So I think the pace was hindered by the amount of puzzles that you had to do throughout. And these are things that could have been, you can leave till after the game on a new game plus or something if you want to play the game. But some of these puzzles, you need them to get upgrading, get items that you need to upgrade. So they're necessary in a way. So I wish they weren't necessary. And if you had to do these puzzles, maybe make them more rewarding for stopping the pace. Just a thought. Moving on to the bosses in the game. Many of us wanted more bosses. And did they effectively do that? Oh, they gave us bosses. But a majority of these bosses were doubles. Game became familiar, different variations of the same boss. And berserkers as well. You don't have to really do the berserkers. You can wait till after the game and go back and do them. But they're pretty similar, just variations of one another. And I think that's a big disappointment as well. I think that they could have taken more time with these type of bosses, made them all varied. Just vary them up. Just like when you differentiate when you're fighting Odin, when you're fighting Thor, when you're fighting Freya, when you're fighting the grandma of Oda Koda. Oda, that's her name, Oda Koda? You know what I'm talking about. Anger Koda. And things of that nature. But some of the boss fights were good, but I think they should not have doubled up so much and just had got original. And sometimes it feels like you're just like thrown into a mini boss fight just for the sake of being thrown into a mini boss fight. And I think the process of getting to the boss fight could have been a little more organic. So they take a little hit on that. But the major factor is enjoyment. And this is what this channel is about. Is this a game that you can enjoy or will enjoy? Because sometimes a game does not have to be as technically sound for you to enjoy it. It doesn't have to check all the boxes for you to enjoy it. That is left for Game of the Year. Okay, so is this game enjoyable? I thoroughly enjoyed this game, and enjoyment is the most important thing that you want in your games and in gaming, period. Because sometimes we get so held up on graphics, on sound, and this and that. Although that does make up the whole, but there are times when you can really enjoy a game without all of that being top notch. And this game is close to being top notch, but it didn't quite check all of those boxes due to the things that I've mentioned prior. But this game is enjoyable. And I tell you, this game has its moments, especially with the boss fights later on in the game, and reminds you of why you really enjoy this first-person party exclusive God of War on PlayStation. So does God of War RagNaroK get the stamp of approval? God of War RagNaroK gets to play everything now, stamp of approval. It is approved, guys. And I found myself, after finishing the game, actually going back into the game immediately. So that is a testament to the enjoyment that I had that overrided some of the frustrations that I had throughout my journey. So giving this a score, I'm going to slap a 9 on this title because some of you guys like to hear numbers, but it's enjoyable. It is a must get. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and that notification bell. And I will see you on the next video. Spread the word, and please enjoy your day and be safe.